efficacy of stem cell therapies?
So our investigative question was, are stem cell therapies really effective?
Yes, but numerous factors can cause complications in execution. More specifically, we found that stem cell therapies are effective given that appropriate conditions are met.
However, numerous factors regarding FDA approval and political regulations allow complications.
Research and tests conducted to achieve these results are also seen as unethical and immoral, causing slow progression.
So I wanted to begin with a visual representation of a stem cell timeline. This timeline is from the Institute for Bioethics at the University of Miami, and it goes as far back as to 1740, where Abraham Tremblay studied freshwater hydra and their ability to regenerate, much like our planaria lab that we just finished a couple weeks ago. And we keep going down the line to 1963, where James Till and Ernest McCullough discovered the multipotency of stem cells, and they're credited as being the founders of stem cell therapy. And as we keep going down to 2006, we'll talk more about the Stem Cell Research Enhancement Act, which was vetoed by George W. Bush twice, and all the way down to 2009, where the National Institute of Health approves the first set of stem cell lines eligible for federal funding. And scientific progression is evident throughout this entire timeline, in which Lilah will go more in depth about.
Stem cell therapies have shown promising results in clinical trials, but they remain largely experimental due to ethical and regulatory concerns. Reha Muhammad Ali, a scientific researcher, found that stem cells can successfully regenerate damaged tissue, but a lack of FDA approval can hamper these treatments. Currently, one of the only FDA-approved stem cell treatments are the hematopoietic progenitor cells, which have high failure rates. The big risks with stem cells are tumor formation and immune rejection. Adult stem cells and embryonic stem cells are currently being researched to combat this concern, but those each come with their own ethical and efficacy problems. The induced pluripotent stem cell, or the iPSC, is a cell type that can combat the issues stated previously, as it has greater versatility than the adult stem cells, and it does not have as many ethical concerns as the embryonic stem cells. It also has a lower risk of tumor formation and rejection since it comes from the patient's own body. Still, these cells cannot be used outside of experimental settings due to a lack of FDA approval from its lengthy cell manufacturing process.
So this is a quote from an FDA news release in 2019. Peter Marks states that the FDA remains highly committed to facilitating the development and availability of safe and effective cellular therapy products, which exemplifies the FDA's dedication to public safety and the justification of the extremely strict process for FDA approval. And so for the political lens, a great example for it would be the Stem Cell Research Enhancement Act of 2005. It would have required the Secretary of Health and Human Services to conduct, support, and fund research for human embryonic stem cells. However, it was vetoed by George W. Bush in 2005. It was revised in 2007, once again passed by Congress. However, George W. Bush vetoed it once again. The House vote to overturn the veto was 253 to 174, as you need 290 in order to overturn a presidential veto. However, in 2009, Barack Obama actually revoked the veto, claiming that it's more important to focus on scientific decisions and factual evidence rather than ideology and ethics. And this is a great example of the fluctuations and limitations of the political laws and regulations surrounding stem cell therapy. And this is a quote from George W. Bush in his letter to the House of Representatives explaining why he vetoed the bill in the first place.
This is a prime example of when ethics and politics have crossed paths. As stated previously, there are many ethical and moral questions regarding stem cell therapies and research. Although stem cell therapies have the potential to impact the health community and progress in treatments for autoimmune, degenerative, and genetic disorders, ethical issues are constantly slowing the process and treatments. They have been using human embryonic stem cells, talked about earlier, that the stem cell health professionals typically prefer, since they are pluripotent, meaning they are very young stem cells that can develop into any type of cell, leading to many possibilities. The fact is that many feel destruction of a 5-day-old embryo for the stem cells is unethical. Since health professionals favor HESCs, they genetically modified a new one called the iPSCs. They are the middle ground cell Lilah was talking about earlier. They are seen as a replacement for the human embryonic stem cells.
As we discussed before, the iPSCs are making significant headway in the regenerative medicine field as they are slowly starting to replace the embryonic stem cells in research.
The use of iPSCs has also lessened the ethical and moral concerns regarding stem cells. Some are concerned that iPSCs may not be as effective as the human embryonic ones, or that we are going to be missing out on information. But the results from the research with the iPSCs has shown lots of promise.
They have been proven to have the same traits and abilities as ESCs, since they are essentially brought back to an embryonic-like state. So they have the versatility and pluripotency of the ESCs without the same ethical concerns of the destruction of an embryo. They also have a lessened risk of rejection and tumor formation in the body, allowing for patient-specific treatment.
And according to Louis A. Kona from DVC STEM, ISPCs are much less controversial, as it avoids tampering with human embryos and subject to fewer federal restrictions. Additionally, federal funding is permitted in this specific field, and it's also important to note that this is a complex, evolving field which will take time in order to be widely accepted in science, politics, and ethics, and many more lenses worth recognizing. Thank you.
Juliet, give one specific way your thinking changed as a result of learning about Sophia's findings.
I think Sophia's findings helped me realize the social part, more of the social part of the ethical side of things, and how it can impact more of like the higher up people and how they view it. So it kind of made me realize what our people around us see.
Okay, thank you. Lilah, reflecting on your colleagues' work, which one had the greatest impact on your overall understanding?
I deem that Juliet's research had the most impact on my understanding, because it kind of helped me see like the reasons as to why stem cells aren't being pursued and pushed as much in the medical field as other treatments, and it's like mainly due to like the ethics of it.
Okay, thank you. And lastly, Sophia, if you had another team member, what perspective or limitation could they have researched?
Yeah, of course. So I personally think that having a teammate who researched the cultural and social aspect of this would have been great, because Lilah and I's our research was more based on factual evidence and findings, while Juliet's was more based off of the consumer portion of stem cell therapy. And I feel like having another point of view based on the population who is really receiving this care is pretty important, and it would balance out our research.
Okay, thank you.